Hi, welcome to our show. It's Jim and Fiona, and the show is You Can Talk About That with Fiona and Jim.
Yeah.
Fiona, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we want to talk about the lockdown blues that everyone is feeling in many countries, but particularly we're in Australia and Victoria and New South Wales in particular. We're in lockdown and have been for quite some time, and people are fading.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's day 200 and something. I don't even know what it is now.
220,749,211.
Of our imposed isolation, yes. And
Yeah.
that's gone well beyond the point of having a sense of humour about it to some
Yeah.
significant issues, I think.
Yeah. Well beyond,
Yeah.
like people are done. We have been fading for quite some time, but we've already discussed this, haven't we? Where even now, like positivity is one of my top core strengths. And even I have been finding it hard to just stay on top of being hopeful and people are running out of motivation. We were just talking about this before. Tell us about how you have felt through this.
Yeah, so the last few days in particular, well, a couple of weeks ago, I absolutely hit the wall and I needed to take some time off work,
Yeah.
which is bizarre because during lockdown, like most other people, I'm working from home, so I'll just stay at home, shall I?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Yeah.
So the difference is I just legitimately had trouble getting out of bed. I just thought, what is the point? I just have nothing left to give. And there's nothing recharging my batteries.
Yes.
So it is really, really hard. This isolation is really quite difficult. So.
Yep. And I think that's the key, is that there's nothing charging your batteries. When I'm doing coaching, we call it filling your cup. And you can do that in many different ways. But if you're like, there's a differences, say introverts and extroverts, we know that personality type. Introverts prefer working alone, and extroverts prefer that teamwork, that more fast-paced. But even the introverts are struggling because at a human level, we have a human need to connect with other people.
Correct. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I've seen that very much so. As people who have watched the previous show would know that I've got 4 kids.
Yep.
So 2 are introverted, 2 are extroverted, and the introverts are well and truly ready to meet other human beings as well, and it's really quite difficult. It really, really is.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, go.
Oh, I was going to say, so have you got some things like? Did you hit the wall much as well?
Oh my gosh! At the beginning of the year when we first went into lockdown again, because I am an extrovert, I am a trainer and a coach, and I thrive on being around people, and that I really miss that connection. Last year when we went into lockdown, I had my husband and my son working from home with me, so I didn't feel like I was isolated. And then we got to the stage where we could go out on the weekend, so I would sort of be filling up my cup with what I needed to do on the weekends, and then because all of my training went onto Zoom. So I used to go into workplaces and do the training, but now it's just all people on a screen, which is okay, but it's really not the same because you don't have the energy, you don't have the interaction. But at the beginning of this year, when it happened again, like I went into a hole, and I was using all of my personal development tools and my positive mindset tools and positive psychology tools. And I was doing the gratitude, and I was doing the shifting my focus to all the things that were helpful.
It feels all manufactured at times, doesn't it?
And I felt like I was forcing it. And I actually realized that I didn't need to force myself into feeling happy about the crappy situation I was in. So I was actually causing more damage. And that was probably one of my biggest lessons in positive psychology, is that you're allowed to just be where you are. And the minute I stopped forcing myself, because I actually started worrying, because I've had depression in the past, like very, very severely. And I've been okay for probably 10 years without it. And I started going, oh my gosh, like I've got no motivation. I just can't. I'm not interested in anything. And all of those things that tick the boxes of depression. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that coming back? But I felt still okay, that underlying okayness that kind of thought, no, it's not. It's just, it's a crappy time right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I think it helps to recognize that. And there's something to be said about having other people around you who are positive and they uplift you. But I think at the moment, there's something else to be said about having people around you who who are likewise suffering
Yeah.
and who can empathise and
Yeah.
sympathise with your suffering.
And let you be where you are
Yeah,
right now. I think
yeah.
that's a real
None of
key.
this. Cheer
Yeah.
up. You'll be
Stiff
okay.
upper lip is not welcome here. And
No.
that's one of my biggest lessons, because I am all about the positivity and the positive psychology and the mindset and all that. But I realized that it's actually not okay to try and cheer someone up when they just need to be where they are. It's about just coming alongside them and loving them and encouraging them and supporting them where they are. And
Yeah.
the key there is to do it for yourself. And that's my top tip, is to allow yourself to be where you are. And I guess in terms of my experience was realizing that rather than trying to cheer myself up, because that was exhausting and wasn't honoring how I was feeling, I felt crappy about being in lockdown. I felt crappy about not seeing my family, and that was okay.
Yeah.
So what I did was dialed down my expectations of myself and dialed down my schedule to match what I was actually capable of doing. And I'm like, instead of trying to force myself to be interested in something, I would just lie on the couch and watch Netflix.
Yeah. Well, that just brings me to another point, though, is what about when the things that you want to do, the things that you feel at the time will bring you life, or all you're managing to do, what if those things aren't all that edifying or helpful? So the typical one that springs to mind is after a heartbreak, people just go and eat a whole tub of ice cream on the couch.
Yeah.
And listen to really sad songs. I mean, neither of those things are all that helpful.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate between this is just what I want to do and I'm just going to have some me time? Well,
that's a really good question. And it's all about choices and finding that harmony. So we don't, like, I try to replace the word harmony for balance, because balance sort of implies equal weight, but harmony in what you need to do, and thinking through, so you're making very conscious decisions around how you're handling that. And so it's finding what's helpful to you, but really honoring how you feel too. It's like, I feel like eating a tub of ice cream and watching, spending the whole day on the couch watching Netflix, and then asking the question, will that help me? If I put on a kilo, how am I going to feel about myself tomorrow morning when I get on the scales, at not achieving anything?
You're in that space though, when you just think there is no tomorrow morning.
Like,
this is just what I want right now.
Right now, then do it. But then don't stay there too long.
Yeah, okay. Because there is that misery loves company idea. Particularly when people are heartbroken. But again, talking about lockdowns, when we're in lockdown, and I was in lockdown yesterday, and I'm in lockdown today, and guess what tomorrow is? It's lockdown.
Yes. So
foreseeable end in sight. What to do.
This is where you go through the stages. And number one, like in psychology, and I've spoken to a lot of other psychologists about how people are feeling, particularly at this point. Now, if you're watching this video in the future, it is September in 2021. We have been in lockdown most of last year, and then most of this year, well, not most of this year, but we've been under pretty tight restrictions, and we've managed it. So for example, last year, everyone kicked into resilience mode. We've got this, we can do this. And it was kind of a novelty, and we worked out different ways to do our businesses and different ways to do that. And so we kind of overcame. But this year it's like, we've done that. There's nothing new about this anymore. It's now old and it's boring and we hate it. And what we're experiencing now and what we're finding is that people are experiencing grief. And so what we're feeling at the moment is grief. And it's those stages of grief that we're going through. So it's the grief over our freedom, the grief over the loss of being able to connect with people, all of that other stuff. And grief causes your cognitive function to be impaired, because our brains are designed amazingly. Our brains are designed amazingly so that it shuts down to allow us to be able to just take some time out to get over whatever it is that we're grieving. So the key there is to notice our natural state and to allow that and honor that and allow what our body knows how to do and our brain knows how to do. So number one, allow the emotions to come and visit you. Allow yourself to feel the emotions. Allow yourself to feel, this sucks. I'm going to spend a couple of days in bed if I have to. And then
not to step up a lip and get on with things, to recognize what's really going on.
Exactly. Allow what naturally happens to our body, because we're designed perfectly, to allow that to happen and recognize it and label it and honor it, and then go, right, when it's no longer helpful to you, so you've honored it and allowed it, and then go, right, I need to start making my way back out of this now at a really gentle, self-loving, self-compassionate pace.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then just doing little bits. And even if it is just making your bed in the morning for today, gold. And then tomorrow, if it's making your bed, then having a shower. And then the next day, if it's just doing those little bits that do feed your spirit, because it can become a negative cycle. And not to go too much into the psychology of it, but our brain has a positivity bias and a negativity bias. Right? What gets fed the most will outweigh the other. We need to find the balance then through. And that's why gratitude is such a great thing. If you're feeling crappy, allow yourself to feel crappy, but then go, but I'm grateful. I feel like crap this morning, but I'm grateful that I have a home to be in lockdown. So that you've got that harmony between the two. So we're not letting one take over.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that that's some really good things. So you said that's the one. Is there some other points in that as well, or
in the steps, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So the steps to just starting to then recognize, yes, I'm allowed to feel that, but this is not going to be helpful to me long term, and to start just very gently stepping out of it, and then reframing. Just that cognitive reframing of how you're thinking and feeling about your situation. And if you've ever been into any of my courses, your thoughts create your feelings, and then your feelings will determine your actions. So when we want to start moving through those steps of grief or feeling like crap, then we start to reframe the way we're looking at what's happening around us, because then we'll start feeling better about what's happening around us while still acknowledging, and then our actions will be better. So if I feel like crap, my actions are going to be, I'm going to eat a tub of ice cream.
Yes.
If I go, right, I've got this time out today, I'm going to go for a walk and do some mindfulness activities, and then climb your way gently and slowly back out of it, connecting with people.
Yeah, so even if the one thing you can manage today, which is going to be an absolute strain, is to go for a walk down to check the mailbox and then come back again. At least do that rather than do nothing at all.
Then do nothing at all, because then it just becomes a spiral of negativity, and we can then feel like crap because we wasted the day, and then we beat ourselves up. But the key is just self-love and self-compassion right now.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely what I've been seeing too with people. There's just so much, and people have gone beyond that, and there's just no care, and absolute despair is ruling and is rife. It's hard to find that.
And the thing is that, the world is not going to implode if you take some time out and dial down your schedule. I mean, like what we were working on last year that didn't happen. It's like, it's not the end of the world. We can park things. So if you've got stuff that you have wanted to achieve this year, and there are people that wanted to get married, wanted to go on holidays, there are so many people's dreams were crushed through this last couple of years. It's about going, this is just a temporary pause.
Yeah.
And right now I need to dial down my expectations of myself and dial down my schedule to match my energy levels.
One of the things I've found as well in this space has been people's marriages and relationships have really taken a tumble. And it was one of the first casualties in a lot of cases that I could see.
Yep.
And that's something that I've been thinking about lately over this time, has been how do you get back again? You've done the thing. You were just looking back on it with a clear mind. You look back at it and think, you know what, I just ripped into my partner for no real reason. Now we're separating, and we've lawyered up, and we actually had some really good stuff. And what was I thinking? How do I do that? Obviously, it's ridiculously difficult if you've got court orders in place where you can't even contact each other. But I think that so many people have said goodbye to relationships, and then have now in the loneliness and the cold place that they're in, thinking, what have I done?
What have I done? Oh, look, and the thing is that has been a very real reality, is that relationships have taken a real hit throughout these lockdowns. And I think that can be another episode of this in itself, because but I think for this context is understanding why that has happened, and that's that lockdown blues that has happened and impacted these relationships. And it's exactly what I was talking about, the negativity bias and positivity bias, that our negativity bias in our brain has strengthened so much. And what happens when that happens, because we're watching the news, we're hearing the tragedies, and so that strengthens like a muscle. So it's like if you did weights on this arm but not on this arm, the muscles check that out. The muscles are going to the muscles are going to grow on this side, and with all the news and the negativity. So what happens is your brain starts pointing out more of the negatives than it does the positives. And this is why gratitude practices work, because it strengthens that positivity bias. But in relationships, then suddenly all the things that we maybe tolerated or thought were cute about our partner are now annoying the crap out of us.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just, sadness and grief and depression magnifies everything.
Why do you have to chew with your mouth open? Why do you have to slurp your drink?
Why do you have to breathe?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like, can you, and this is what's happening because our brains are now pointing out the negatives, the stuff that, because there is no perfect human being. We've all got a good side and a bad side, right? But when we're happy, we choose to focus on the good, and relationships are an investment that has constantly got to be worked on to constantly remind yourself of their qualities, their amazingness, and allow yourself to focus and settle on that. But lockdown and depression and sadness shifts our focus because our brain is literally gone in. I don't know whether this side's negative. I do this, but it doesn't really matter which side. But the negativity bias that's strengthened is now highlighting all the doom and gloom around us, all the doom and gloom in our relationships. And it's not a realistic measurement, because it's like you never make a life decision when you're going through grief or something or depression.
So I shouldn't have just bought another house and a car. I shouldn't have.
No, you shouldn't have.
eBay's my best friend. I can just go there and buy stuff. And I just get that adrenaline hit when I hit buy.
On that, I have learned how to go shopping online and then just empty my cart. So I'll go through all the good feels of the searching and clicking, shopping, put in my cart, and then at the end, delete. Yeah. And I've had all the good feels of shopping that didn't cost me a cent. So this is what's happening in relationships and with people. And for you watching, if you feel like you've lost interest in stuff, whether it be your relationships, your friends, your life, your hobbies, your passions, it's not you, and it's just temporary, and it's okay. It's just a time to take a step back and again, I'm going to use the words kindness and compassion to yourself and each other, because everybody's suffering. Like, there's not one person that's going, woohoo, lockdown, I'm loving every minute of it. And if you are, then you might be, but you're still, there's still stuff going on that you're missing. So
I think one of the key items you just said there is kindness. And I think that I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, as I'm getting older, I've found that kindness is the most attractive trait in another human being or another group of human beings, and there's so little of it out there. But I think it's actually always been that way. Kindness is a risk. If you're being kind to somebody and they snap at you, whether it's a stranger or even worse, if it's somebody you know or love, it's ridiculously hard on you. It calluses you over. And it's really, really hard to do that. But kindness is fantastic, and it's one of those really great things. The interesting thing is, of course, is that the person who's receiving that act of kindness and whatever it is amplified by their love language. If it is one of their 5 love languages, then it does do it. But it also gives that great feeling to the person who is being kind.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does feed your spirit as well. Kindness is a human trait that really does feed your spirit and fill your cup. Even if kindness and respect is a basic human need, and every single human, regardless of what they're doing and how they're behaving, you don't. I've done this in training before in corporate, and it's about treating everyone with respect. And I've had someone say to me, "But what if that person doesn't deserve my respect?" I'm like, okay, there's a difference. There's a difference between respecting someone and treating them with respect. So it's that kindness and respect that we really need to dig deep sometimes and give to each other. But the first and foremost, we need to give ourselves kindness and respect, because what we give ourselves, we reflect out to others naturally anyway. So it has to start within. Kindness, compassion, and love. Managing our expectations right now and loving ourselves through this will automatically help us shine that out to other people as well.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a lot in there, especially the whole idea about kindness and respect being together. I've spoken with people before who were prisoners and people who were, in fact, guarding prisoners. And there is that issue around respect. And I remember talking once with a prison guard about respect and how you can respect prisoners. And they were really fantastic. Their mindset was not what I had expected.
Yeah.
And then I said, you treat them with kindness and warmth, the way that you're behaving towards them. And you've been doing this for a really long time. So there must be so many stories.
They're not hardened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, well, for me, it might not sound the best way, but I think about it a bit like a zookeeper.
Yep.
Like they love the animals that they're with, but they know they're animals, and a lot of them are very dangerous.
Yeah.
So, and that's how they have it. So there is a respect, but it's a different type of respect. And at least respecting them for what they are. And that is something that's vital.
And there's a whole other topic as well, like another show on kindness and respect. I love where this is going. But
obviously, as a Christian, we can really do that because we respect everybody because they bear the image and likeness of God. So that's yes, you are right. There is a whole lot of
there's so many little sidewinding things. But I guess to wrap up this one is, yes, we're struggling through lockdown. Yes, it's okay if you are. There's nothing wrong with you. This is really, really hard. And from someone who is has a strength of positivity and who trains and coaches mindset and positive psychology and well-being, and to really experience suffering myself, even with all the tools in my belt, please feel better about how if you're not managing, it's okay. Just don't necessarily have to cheer yourself up, but adjust your expectations and your workload to match your energy levels and motivation levels. So it's like dial that down rather than trying to dial yourself up, and you'll have less exhaustion as a result. It's much kinder and compassionater. I just made that a word to yourself. Yeah. So with that, let's just wrap this up by Jim. What are you going to do that fills your cup over the next few days to try and...
Sure, I'm going to do something every single day just to make me feel a little bit better, get myself in a much better headspace.
Brilliant.
Even if it's a small thing.
Yeah. So that's a really good key, is just one thing every day that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So, good question. I am also going to find, because of the motivation thing, I'm thinking I need a hobby or something, because all I do is work and then for hobby work. So I'm going to try and find something that I can do daily, just for a little bit, that just lets me switch off. That's my thing, switching off. Yeah. Good. Cool. Well, thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Fiona. See you next time.
Thank you for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you for another episode. Bye for now.